you're looking at here is the latest version of the Tesla Model 3. Just been released officially by Tesla now, so we've got some official details of exactly what the changes will be. Which makes this now the older version. So I'm going to walk through this car and show you the differences compared to the new car. There have really been three major changes with the Model 3, so I'm going to just summarise that briefly. I'm going to go through the car and explain what's now new on this latest version of the Model 3. I'm going to also talk to you a bit about the fact the new Model 3 will not have stalks, so you won't have an indicator stalk or drive selector stalk. I have driven cars, the Teslas, without those stalks, so I'll let you know a bit of my feedback and will that work. I know it's a big concern for some people. And then I might get some reaction from some of my colleagues as well, what they think of this new design. So, a little bit of the history. Tesla Model 3 came out in June 2019 here in the UK. It was in the States earlier, of course. There was a kind of milder refresh in 2021, but it did bring about a few changes. Heat pump as standard, different headlights, double glazing, different center console, power tailgate, no chrome around the windows. So that was kind of a mild refresh there in 2021. And there's always lots of little incremental changes as well, such as when a heated steering wheel became a standard thing and all that kind of stuff. With Tesla, the products always evolve. Now, this latest version here you're looking at is version 3, I'm going to call it, of the Model 3. It's not a completely new car, but there are a lot of changes to it, so a bit more significant than the 2021 refresh. So this is a midlife refresh for the Model 3, and what have we got? Well, you can see the front end is going to be slightly different. We've got a new front bumper design. We're not going to have these fog lights and such like down here, and of course we've got the new headlight design. A sleeker, more aggressive look. And when I say sleeker, the main aim for this Model 3 is efficiency. This has always been an efficient car. It really is remarkable. The latest one pushes it even further. It's got lower drag coefficient, so that will help improve efficiency, despite the fact the drivetrain actually appears to be the same as the current version. But more efficiency gains will help it go further, of course, or you don't need as big a battery to go as far. Anyway, so front end. New headlights. Hopefully we see active matrix headlights in this new version. It's something in the current Model 3, although it has matrix headlights, they're not active yet. Probably can be activated. The early cars didn't have them at all. So I want to see some active matrix headlights and also automatically go to left-hand drive, right-hand drive based on which country you're driving in. So if I drive from here to France, they will change over. Coming back a little bit, there's going to be some new wheel choices, and we'll see 18-inch, 19-inch, and probably 20-inch for the performance again. One of the biggest, probably one of the only real gripes of the current Model 3 is the suspension. So this should see a new suspension setup that should be more comfortable. They're doing a lot more to isolate the cabin and vibrations. The main thing, I think, the end result for the user, want to see a more compliant ride for at least the standard and long-range models. The performance ones, we do want a bit firm. Of course, it's a very fast car then. So improvements to the suspension are going to be one of the biggest things I'm really looking forward to trying with this new version. So that'll be exciting to see. We're going to see latest version of camera hardware, so it looks like it's going to be camera version 4. There are rumours of 3.5, but I don't think that's the thing. As we get to this midsection of the car, it kind of looks pretty much the same, don't you think? So we've got this new midsection. Looks the same, that hasn't really changed too much. I'm going to come onto the interior in a minute. And as you come down the side, then you'll see some changes to the rear of the vehicle. So here we can now see some of the changes to the rear of the vehicle, most distinctly the tail lights. I think the form of this section of the boot all looks pretty similar. Probably some revisions to the under tray and the rear splitter. The main thing, obviously, we can see here is the new rear light design. Now, it's still a saloon, so it's still not a hatchback. There's some people talking about maybe it's going to be a hatchback. I didn't really believe that in the first place, and it's not true. That's still Model Y. So things like boot space and everything should stay pretty much all the same. I think the form of the boot all looks pretty much the same, but it's these new rear lights, and the new rear lights will open with the tailgate. So that means, by the look of it, there's a light that comes on down in the reflector strip, which looks kind of similar down here. Because in the UK, at least, it has to be law that if the tailgate is open, there are still rear lights showing on the vehicle. I know some countries I don't think have that, but imagine if you've broken down the hard shoulder, you open tailgate, you don't want to be in complete darkness, so there will need to be rear lights showing. So that will all change a little bit with this new version, a nice sleek design. So, in terms of aesthetics, what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it's an improvement? Are you not bothered? Do you think it's way better, worse? You let me know. I'd be interested to read those comments. I quite like it. I think it's possibly a little bit safe. I kind of want to see something a bit more bold, a bit more of an in-depth refresh, a bit like the Model S really in the X. I wanted to see a few more changes really and kind of moving forward another step. But like I say, it's not a complete new car, so it is a refresh. Let's have a look at the inside then. Let's have a look in the older car. And so the interior has changed as well. It would look familiar. It's the same kind of layout, center screen. But again, a number of changes here. Different front dashboard, different trims, different colors, different door trims. Same size of screen, but some improved resolution. It's even faster yet again. I don't think the older one was really an issue for speed, but again, improved speed, although it's the same size. I haven't seen anything confirmed about a swivel screen option. Has anyone heard anything about swivel screen? Nothing on that, no. Still 2 phone holders, different center console here, different seats are coming in, which are now perforated, different stitching. So I look forward to trying those. I must admit, these ones without any perforations, it can get a little bit moist and sweaty on a hot day. We're seeing improvements to Bluetooth, more Bluetooth mics. We've got improved sound system again. I mean, the long range performance with the upgraded sound system is already phenomenal. So the new one with improved sound, that'll be amazing as well, I'm sure. The 2021 refresh brought about double glazing. The new one's got double glazing, not just at the front, but at the rear, the back screen as well. So that's going to be good. So it will be familiar, but just a few of those changes. In the back, we are going to see some changes to those seats as well. Let me show you. So in the rear, yes, some slightly different seats. Now, one of the biggest complaints has always been the kind of height to the floor. Your knees are up a little bit, but it's been okay. What they do with the new seats have got a different shape to them, so a little bit more raised and different sculpture to them. But I think essentially you're still going to have that slightly knee-high position if you're in the back for a long time. But they've always been okay for space. However, the biggest change in the rear is the screen. There's actually a screen, like we've seen on the S and the X. There's going to be a screen here where the rear passengers can control their own climate, and you can also watch Netflix, YouTube, and things like that. So that will be coming through. No doubt you can probably connect a game controller, play games in the back, keep the kids entertained. So I'm sure that's going to be really popular for family use. You can still do with just a little bit more, gap between the floor and the seat base. But again, that's where the Model Y comes into it. If you've got tall teenage kids and you're doing long journeys, the Model Y addresses that. If you need that sheer space, that's where the Model Y will come into things. And that will probably see some very similar options in the future, including that rear screen. So there we have it, a very quick run through. Right, one thing I want to come back to, as I said I would, is the topic of stalks. So the current car has an indicator stalk and a drive selector stalk. That is not going to be on the new car. You will not have either of these. I know this is a point of contention for a lot of people. They're really not sure. It's putting them off for the new car. What do I think of it? Because I have driven a car without the stalks, and you'll get used to it. It's okay. So you don't have a drive selector, but I found that I stopped thinking about that. I was driving the Model X, and you put your foot on the brake and it automatically goes into drive to go forwards, unless there's something in front of you. You can then select drive and reverse on the screen just here, easy enough to do, but actually it intuitively does it. I mean, if you're in a parking space and there's something to the side and it's behind you, you just put your foot on the brake, starts the car, it goes into drive and you go forward. So it's quite good. I found myself forgetting that I didn't have a drive stalk, if that makes sense. As for the indicators, that's a bit more of a fiddle, really. You will get used to it, and I'm sure we'll see some automation where it just automatically indicate, and already we have automatic cancelling once you've crossed the white line on the motorway. But in the UK, we do have more roundabouts than some places, and certainly more than America. So you do find yourself, if you need to use indicators in a roundabout, you've got a button on the steering wheel here, but once you go around the roundabout, it's over here, and that can potentially be a little bit awkward. But again, I think it will automate. I think we will get used to it. It's just going to be a thing. It will probably just indicate automatically. The cars are clever enough to know, especially with, as autopilot continuously develops, so it knows when a roundabout, it knows what exit we're taking. I'm quite convinced it will just be indicating automatically, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I wouldn't let it stop you ordering one, but it will be something to get used to. I have to bring in Serge. Serge, you've been following the latest news in this with much excitement all the way through, and you were sending messages at 1 o'clock this morning with stuff, so you were sitting up watching for this stuff. Yeah. You've been excited about it. You drive one of our Model 3s here day to day. What do you think of the refreshes? Over to you.
Well, I think it looks good. I mean, it is a facelift after all, so it's not going to change the whole car.
Yeah.
But the front end looks good with the new headlights. There's a front bumper camera as well, which will help with Tesla Vision. At the back as well, taillights are changed. Yeah. Yeah, they look good. Maybe, not much compared to the old ones, but they look good. I didn't see the diffuser, which was on the camouflage cars.
Yeah.
but that's probably going to come on the performance whenever they're going to announce that.
Yeah.
Yeah, interior is different. Hopefully, better materials like they promised.
Why does the screen not swivel?
I don't know. I was expecting that, but
Well, at least we can still sell our swivel
yes,
kits now, can't we?
that's what
So
I
we've
was
still got a
thinking.
line of swivel kit screens. So, okay, it'd be interesting to see that because I think it's a nice feature on the S and X, but they've got to keep some things premium. What I was surprised to hear about, confirmed, was the rear screen.
Yes.
Again, I thought it would be a little bit of a preserve for the S and the X or something like
Yeah,
that. But
the rumor was that they're testing something for the back, but apparently it's coming.
drivetrain the same. Have we heard much about batteries yet? Are they the same at the moment? Probably they would maybe change over
Yeah.
time, but there was talk about different batteries. Anything on that?
There
at the
was talk, but nothing is being confirmed at the moment. There might be the new CATL batteries, which are starting production this year.
Yeah.
So that probably we'll see that in the future.
Because the same, really, the drivetrain is the same. Probably the motor is the same, but
Yes.
we may well see some different battery options and such like.
Yeah.
And with the improved efficiency, you are talking about even a standard range would quite happily do over 250 miles, best part of 300 miles probably. If the long range then goes even further, you're talking 350, 400 miles. I mean, for most people, the standard range is going to be absolutely ample.
Oh yes.
Already now, the long range you drive from here to Scotland, it only needs one charging stop. But you're driving all day, I have to stop more. So for me, from here to Scotland, the standard range is fine already. I think the advantage of the bigger batteries, longer range would be perhaps people that can't charge every day, every night. They're not on the driveway, so maybe they'd get a charge once a week, and that will see them through the week quite happily.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the big battery, rear-wheel drive only. That'd be good if that carries through. They do that at the moment, but only for kind of fleet buyers in the UK, although they just opened up inventory to others, but nonetheless. Again, another incremental change. It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I like it. I know it's not a big change, but it's not a new car. It's just a facelift, kind of like facelift number 2.
Yes, well, exactly what I was just saying, really. Yeah, it's like the third version, really, isn't it? There's always changes, but the third version.
Yeah.
I bet you want us to buy one.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I'll
Compare
think
it to the old ones?
We need to do some testing and filming comparing it. Of course we will once we get them in the UK. It's a shame we're not going to get them initially. So it looks like Europe will get them in, October, November, something like that?
Yeah,
And then we'll
October.
get them next year.
Yes, but Australia is getting them from January. So I don't see why, because that's a
Yes,
smaller
that's when
market.
right-hand drive production probably starts shipping then. So it's going to be pretty much unbeatable car, isn't it? I mean, it's just going to be...
It's at the same price at the moment, probably lower later on, I don't know.
I just don't get why. It's just going to blow out of the water, really, any latest version of a BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, that kind of stuff, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we'll see some changes in the Model Y as well. Okay, well, that's all we know for now. Good to see some confirmed details, and those are some of our thoughts on it there. So if you're going to put one on order, let me know in the comments below. If you're not too keen on it, let me know in the comments below. Really interesting to always read your feedback, so please do so. Stay subscribed, and you'll see us have some more videos, including, as soon as we get our hands on them on the road, we'll do some range tests. We'll try and compare the new one to the old one to the original one.
Yeah.
And do the 3 and something like that, and of course other cars. So make sure you're subscribed. More videos coming soon.